Hello all. Free cash flow is one of my favorite and important parameter and even for all value investors while looking for an investment. Free cash flow, which otherwise called FCF, is the actual cash available to the shareholders, that is we investors, after that company has paid all its bill in full. If you detail it out, FCF is the cash flow from operations after deducting the capex for maintenance needs of the company for it to stay in the business. Yes, if this maintenance capex is difficult to be derived from the annual report or even from the financial reports, then you can always consider the total capex, which is easily available from the cash flow statements. Hence, the free cash flow is expressed as the cash flow from operations minus the capex. Again, capex, what is capex? So, capex is nothing but the capital expenditure of the company. But how to derive it from a financial report or from a annual report is that you will get the property, plant and equipment cost which the company has made for that year, means for acquiring the property, factories, machinery, equipment. So that is listed under the property, plant and equipment expense. So it is normally termed as PPE. So PPE for you will get it from the cash flow statement. So PPE for the last year, say this is 2021 and last year is 2020. So PPE for 2020 minus PPE for this year, which is 2021, plus the depreciation and amortization expenses is nothing but capex. So you can see in my screen, capex is PPE last year minus PPE this year plus D&A, which is the depreciation and amortization expense. So again, this D&A expenses you will get it from the operating cash flow section of the cash flow statement. Now, capex helps companies to expand the business operations and generate more revenue and hence more profit in the future, though in the current year it creates a hole in the free cash flow. If you break up the cash flow from operations again, the cash flow from operation is normally termed as CFO. So CFO equal EBIT plus adjustments to net income plus change in working capital. Now again breaking it down, what is change in working capital? Change in working capital is generally speaking, theory wise, it is the working capital is the current assets minus the current liabilities. But if you dig deep into the cash flow statement, uh, it is not actually theoretically the current assets minus current liabilities. Yes, they take sum of the current assets and the liabilities. So what are that assets? So those are like change in working capital equal change in inventory, change in trade receivables, change in other financial activities, change in non-financial assets, change in trade receivables, change in other financial liabilities, and change in non-financial liabilities. All these things can be added up, then you will get the total change in working capital. Now the change by the term, what does that mean is that it is the difference between the current year minus from the last year, expressed in percentage. So if there is an increase from last year to current year, it is expressed as positive, otherwise it is expressed as negative. So from the above formula, it is clear that the free cash flow would be more if the EBIT goes up. So EBIT is earnings before interest and tax. So that is the profit which is expressed before the interest. Interest nothing but the loan interest for the loan which the company has to pay, and tax, which is nothing but the tax which the company has to pay on its earnings or its profit. So EBIT goes up means the free cash flow goes up, because as EBIT goes up, the CFO goes up. So if the CFO goes up, obviously the CFO minus capex figure goes up, hence the free cash flow also goes up. So end of the day, the earnings of the company or the profit of the company goes up means the free cash flow obviously goes up. So ideally the free cash flow shall be positive, and that the funding of the capex shall be taken from the company's profit or earnings only. If the company takes huge debt or loans and finances the capex through the debt, many times the capex exceeds the CFO, and hence we get a negative free cash flow. Why negative free cash flow? Because the capex required is much more than what the company has earned that year. But say if the company has to set up a big plant for manufacturing something, and if the earnings for that year is say 1000 crore and the capex required for that year is 1500 crore, then the difference between the CFO and the capex will be negative. So because the capex required is much more than what you have earned that year, but obviously the capex will be invested, and on a later date you will fetch the results of that capex. Say the plant produces various products and you sell the product, you increase the revenue and you increase the profit. But for that year, obviously the free cash flow can go negative. Also, it's interesting to note that the company takes such heavy debts or loans to finance the high capex. The debt amount exceeds the company earnings, that is EBIT, and the cash flow from operations CFO also becomes negative. If this happens for rarely a year, it's considered okay. But if this trend continues, it shows that the business is sucking all the earnings for its expansion and creates no free cash flow, which actually is important for the investors, since expansions or these capex are done end of the day only to generate some free cash flow for the investors like us. So it's okay that in 1 year or 2 year the company decides to go for high capex cycle, and if the capex later fetches you good profits, then I am okay with that. But if the capex continuously is continuing for year on year, say for continuously 5-6 years, and the free cash flow goes down or even it is negative, then end of the day you are not getting any returns out of what you have invested. So the return on investment would be negative. So that is not acceptable. So to further understand, let me present an example of a simple lemonade shop. In our earlier video on moats, the earlier sessions on moats, I had discussed about the patent of this juicer technology to yield more juice from the lemons to beat the competition and to have a competitive advantage over the competitor who is also making lemon juice. So our guy who is the lemonade guy, who has this patented technology of juicer, will generate more juice, say 30% more juice from his juicer technology compared to the same number of lemons used by the competitor, and generate more revenue, and hence will be able to sell at a lower price and generate more revenue out of that. So now we will not get into that. Now what I want to tell here is that just to tell you the example of a free cash flow and how it works. Now that he will have to replace the juicers or repair it and bring new juicers to expand the business and to stay in business. So juicers can go, there will be some mechanical failure or something, so he has to repair it, so he has to spend money for that. So that is maintenance capex. And again, he has to say he decides to spend some money, and say he has to set up some 10 new lemonade shops. So to set up that 10 new lemonade shops, currently he's having one lemonade shop, but he decides to go for 10 lemonade shops, say in 2 years stage wise, say 5 in a year and 5 in next year. So he'll have to spend a huge amount of capex compared to his earnings, because from a lemonade shop you will not earn much of you will definitely earn much of profit, but it will not be sufficient enough to set up 10 new lemonade shops, at least 5 a year. So what he will do, he will go for some loan or debt. So he will finance the capex through loan. So whatever earnings he is getting, that is noted for that year, but through the loan he is taking, or he is financing the capex. So why he is going for loan? Because whatever he is getting as earnings from one lemonade shop is not enough to set up that lemonade shops of 5 per year. So this is a clear case wherein the earnings is less compared to the capex, and hence the free cash flow goes negative. But it is obvious that if he is generating in the coming years with 5 plus 5, 10 lemonade shop in addition to the one existing, so total 11 lemonade shops, he will be able to buy bulk of lemons. He will be able to use equipments in between all the 10 shops. He will be able to use various inventory for all the 10 shops. So maybe his fixed cost is lesser, and if he generates more revenue, like new customers in new areas, provided he is setting up these lemonade shops in prime areas, so he will generate good profit. And eventually after the second year, third year onwards, he will generate more profit. His cash flow from operations goes up. His capex obviously would be lesser from third year, because now he don't have to set up the new lemonade shops. Already he has set up the 10 lemonade shops, and only he has to maintain the juices, which will be much lesser capex. So his free cash flow would be much high for the coming 3 years onwards. But in the first 2 years, you will feel that the free cash flow is less. So you should not gauge a company just because his free cash flow is negative for a few years, say 1 to 2 years. So this is a clear case of a analysis of a company based on the free cash flow. Now, just quickly, as we are running out of time, some free cash flow ratios, or the cash flow ratios I include in my analysis is, one is free cash flow per share. So that is nothing but the total free cash flow divided by the shares outstanding. So that will give you the free cash flow per share. So I always compare that with the current market price. So it will give you the feel of how much cash rich a company is, or how much free cash flow a company is generating per share basis. Again, free cash flow yield, which is nothing but the free cash flow per share divided by the current market price. So that also helps you understand how much free cash flow the company is generating and how profitable a company is, and is he really utilizing the the earnings, and ideally managing his capex as well. Another ratio is operating cash flow to the total assets. So as per me, this operating cash flow to the total assets shall always be more than the return on assets. So again, what is return on assets? So return on assets is nothing but the profit after tax, PAT, divided by the total assets. So return on assets gives you a feel of how much profit a company is generating with respect to its total assets which it is owning. So that is again a profitability parameter, just like your return on equity. Now another factor I consider, another ratio I consider is price to FCF. So price to FCF the lower this value or lower this figure, the more undervalued the stock is, because it is generating a lot of free cash flow, but the price is low compared to that free cash flow. So the investors has not understood its value and it is undervalued in terms of free cash flow perspective. Obviously you have to consider all other parameters as well, but I am talking here only from the cash flow perspective. Now another factor which I always consider is the cash burn rate per month. So cash burn is nothing but how much the company is spending in cash year on year. So cash burn per is normally mentioned per month. So the cash last year minus the cash current year divided by 12 months, which is 1 year, will give you the cash burn rate per month. So that rate should be actually negative, because it is cash last year minus cash current year. So current year spending, if the last year spending to the current year spending, if that value is negative, means you are building more cash reserve. So your cash reserve goes high, then your book value also goes high. So that is a positive thing for the stock. Cash burn is required for fast growing companies because they spend cash in a higher rate compared to a slow growing company. But faster the rate mostly lead to trouble, because if the rate is so high, then it can run out of cash and it can lead to very bad situations for the company. Another ratio is the cash flow to the debt ratio. So total cash flow divided by the debt, that is the loans or total short term and long term borrowings. So cash flow in this cash flow to debt ratio, the cash flow is nothing but the cash flow from operations. Higher value indicates that better debt servicing capability by the company. So it is not that you use the complete cash flow for servicing the debt, but it only indicates its capability if at all something happens for the company. My own invention, in my own invention, I have another ratio which is normally not a financial ratio, but what I use is debt to cash. So that is nothing but debt to the total cash that is available in the books. So this ratio gives you an idea of how leveraged a company is with respect to its cash in books. So again, this is like if the debt is high, then you should be able to service it with your available cash or cash equivalents in your books. The higher the value, riskier it is, because the debt increases in the numerator. So you are unable, your cash is low compared to the debt, so you will be unable to service it with the cash available. My cutoff value for this is 1.5 to maximum 2 if other prospects are good, like if it has a good free cash flow or debt to equity ratio, etc. Happy investing.